I'm here with Brian and OJ of Byzantine, man. I haven't seen these two dudes. I don't even know in how long. I don't even.
We do.
Yeah,
Eight
it's been a
years.
long
Eight
time.
years.
8 years.
Eight
Been 8 years.
years?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Wow. I was gonna say this to you because I don't know if you know this or not, but OJ, you're the first person I've ever interviewed on the channel.
I thought that was the fact, but then again, it was almost one of those things where you just tell yourself something and then it becomes true. I was like, yeah, I think I'm the first, but that's great to know, man.
Yeah, yeah, you really opened, like, first of all, thank you for the opportunity back then. That's like 8 years ago. Because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. But thank you for taking the time and giving me that opportunity because it opened the floodgates for the channel to grow in the ways that it has grown. And I think without you giving me the chance to kind of practice on
Yeah.
you the art of interviews, I don't think we would be even sitting here today and talking.
Man, that's a great story. I mean, you got to start at the bottom and then work your way up, and that's how
Yeah.
you did it. Yeah, good
Yeah.
job.
I don't know if
Now,
that was starting at the bottom, you know what I mean? But Drake started at the bottom and look where he is now.
Ah,
exactly.
So, and we're here to talk about Harbingers. I'm dyslexic, so I apologize. Harbingers coming
Mhm.
out June 13th on Metal Blade Records. Let me start off by saying, wow. I
Thank you. Thank you.
wow. Like this
yeah.
record kicks some serious. Okay, let me ask you this. When you guys were recording in the studio, did you guys realize immediately how good and how strong this album is, or has some of the feedback been like kind of the icing on the cake to really let you know that you guys were on the right track when it came to this record?
Hmm.
Man, I think we had a little bit of an idea that we had some strong songs. We knew Ryan, our new bass player, brought in some monster riffs, and we knew we had some really cool stuff to work with. But you just never know until it gets out there and people start listening to it. And so far, the feedback's been kind of like overwhelmingly positive, which is good. Um, but yeah, man, this one feels pretty special. I'm not gonna lie, it does.
Yeah, it's just the first thing I notice is you guys always been a band that puts a record together and offers a lot of variety or diversity, whatever word you want to call it, to the style of songs and to the sound that it's on the record. You can find a song that's a little bit more thrash, you can find a more progressive track, you can find a little bit more a groovier song here and there. And that sometimes makes the album experience a little bit jarring because it's kind of hard to find the red line that connects all of these songs. On this record, you still have that Byzantine flavor throughout, but the red line is there all the way through. Does that come down to the execution of the songs or maybe to the production behind the songs?
I am going to point the focus and the direction on this with the help of Peter Witchers. Um, for the first time in our career, we were able to bring in a real producer and bringing Peter Witchers in from Soilwork to help us during the demo writing. I think it helped condense and direct our energy in the most straightforward path. And you were right. Like we've always been a blender band, and if for a lot of fans, it takes them multiple listens to start letting that lock in. But I think this album, the way it's flowed together, and with Peter and Ryan getting in there, the path is a little bit more direct and makes for a enjoyable listen.
Are you guys closer today than you were 80 years ago and finally knowing what the Byzantine sound is, or do you need to have a signature sound?
I don't think I think we all know there's a core DNA of influences, and there's so Pedro, like when we first started, the first album, our main tenet was to experiment and be creative early and often. And we've always had that. So, um, yeah, I don't think we need a defined sound or like we're writing down this is what this one's going to sound like. We know we all trust each other as songwriters and we all trust each other as friends. So when it comes time to demo, it's best riff wins.
Mhm.
And it might be mine, it might be Brian's, but if one guy says it stinks, it goes out the window. And typically we do that for 3 or 4 months. Bing, bang, boom, we go to Byzantine out. Yeah.
How was the impact of the band, the current lineup on this album? Does the creative weight still falls predominantly on both of your shoulders, or how do you guys are distributing that weight around?
Well, personally, I think, OJ usually has always kind of shouldered most of the writing, but it just seems like this time, like bringing Ryan in,
Mm,
he just was able to bring in some monster riffs that we were and OJ were to build on. And I was able to get a couple in there, and this one really felt like kind of like a team effort. But having, you know, other guys in the band that can bring ideas that are great,
mm,
takes a lot of pressure off OJ, I believe, to write an entire record on his own. And for somehow all the riffs they all work and they all sound like Byzantine, even though Ryan had never written for the band before, it still sounds like Byzantine.
mm.
So kudos to him. I love having that guy in the band, but um, this one's been fun to produce and make, man. It's pretty awesome.
It
Yeah,
was
I
fun.
think, I think,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, Ryan, Ryan, oddly enough, we're all West Virginia boys. So, but Ryan grew up just 15 minutes away from Tony Rohrbaugh. So he was always around the Byzantine music when Ryan was younger. And it's always kind of pervaded into Ryan's kind of writing style. So he was primed for this. But yeah, I don't want to put too much on it, but like it's almost like if the Bulls bring in Dennis Rodman, you see where they become with that third guy. Ryan's the Dennis Rodman of this band for sure. Um, Now, the other thing that helped also, like on the Cicada Tree, our drummer Matt Bowles never learned any of the music before we went in the studio. We force fed him the drum parts and he just played them. This time we got to actually rehearse as a band almost every song, and Matt got to bring in his own style. So it was definitely a four-man uh, writing effort on this one.
And it shows
Mm,
because I mean, I kind of went in hoping, or not hoping, maybe that's not the right word, but I went in with expectations, obviously knowing you guys and knowing what you guys have done. There's always going to be expectations from the fan base going into the record, but you guys blew me out of the water immediately. Like the first time going through, it's one of those records you don't need many times to really get into the record. You just need to listen to the record. You'll get into the record.
mhm,
It's super hooky. Like it has some incredible hooks, both musically and vocally.
mhm.
And I think the album is just really well crafted. Does that also come from perhaps not having the pressure that you maybe put on yourselves when you're younger because you want to be the next Metallica or you want to be the next Gojira, and now maybe that pressure doesn't exist? Does that free up you guys to just be even more who you are?
I think it just comes with maturity, and where we had 8 years between the Cicada Tree and this one, we've all grown. We're older, we're more mature, we're wiser, and I just feel like we came in with a more sense of purpose on this one. We know that the clock is ticking, so we uh, we really just wanted to come in, put our best ideas together, and just see what happens. And luckily, it came out as a really nice composition from beginning to end.
And I
Luckily.
really want to mention when I say guitar sound, I mean guitars and bass. Like the overall guitar sound on this record is powerful, which gives the
Mm,
album big volume. Like it's an album that sounds almost like an album that's designed to be played in an arena.
mm,
What do you attribute to that bigger sound that I like to mention Cicada Tree? That record did not have that big sound like this one does.
hmm. Uh,
Well,
that's
OJ,
great. I'm
OJ,
happy about that.
yeah. No, we worked hard on the guitar tones, man.
Yeah.
Well, hell, we recorded everything, didn't we? I,
The first song I recorded 4 times.
Yeah.
So yeah, we actually recorded all the rhythms with a setup. Ended up not liking it, changing amps, mics, everything, redoing it again. So we took time on this one. 15 months in the studio is how long this took, which was probably about 10 months longer than it should have. But the result was that, you know, to audio files out there, that sounds big and powerful. But yeah, it damn near killed me.
Do you guys have your own studio now?
Yes, we do.
Does that change things as well for you when it comes to the creative side of things?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not on anybody else's clock. I can get down here at 2 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning. Nobody rushes me. There's no ticker running with the money. So that helps creatively big time.
How do you guys, based on the feedback, on the positive feedback that you guys have had about this record, do you feel like this album perhaps will open doors that haven't been opened before with previous records? Or are you even looking at that?
I mean, one can hope. I mean, you know, at some point, I think this band deserves a little recognition for all the output and the music that's written. And I think this record is definitely has the material to do that. Now, whether that comes to fruition, we'll see. I think if we, best case scenario, we get this record out and we land a really kick-ass support role on a tour and we can get out in front of people, man, and we'll win them over and we'll sell a bunch of merch and
Mhm.
we'll, because we played big shows before. We've done this when we've given the opportunity and it's always goes well. So, hopefully this finally gets us out there where we should have been a long time ago.
Yeah.
In today's music world, do you have to be out there consistently in order to become a consistent player? Do you guys feel that way about the way the world is these days in terms of how people consume music and learn about bands and even how bands earn revenue?
Yeah, I think especially social media wise, and you know this more than anybody. If you are not, if your face is not on this computer screen, people forget about you very quickly because there's so much content out there. And we have been so poor at social media for so long. This album, we really stripped it back down. I hired a social media manager for 3 months to help get our socials in order and give me a schedule of posting. So now we're playing catch up. But as far as live is concerned, it seems like festivals are where it's at nowadays. Like the festival and the boats are the big things. So if we can just get on a good European festival circuit or do some of the US ones, Danny Wimmer festivals, I think the return on the investment will be massive for this band. Because like Brian said, we're primed to do this. We just haven't had the opportunity to do it
Are you
consistently
looking at
yet.
getting out there still in 2025, or this album will need its time and then 2026 will be the year that you guys hit the road? Where are your heads at?
I mean, I don't want to speak for the rest of the band, but
Mhm.
I think the 2025 is closing on us quickly because things get booked 8 to 10 months in advance. So we may have missed this window, but we're going to try to do some cool one-offs here and there, keep in shape, and set our sights on 2026 to play in front of a ton of people.
Yeah, and if you come to Toronto, make sure you have a good transmission.
Oh God.
Because
Oh yeah.
we all know what happened last time you guys were in Toronto. You almost missed the damn show.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. I got PTSD from Toronto. Jeez.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
city. I just wish I wasn't stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
in all honesty, there's worse places to be stuck at,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
but still,
Yes.
I would really be excited to see you guys do, even if you do just some like East Coast,
Mhm.
U.S. Canada shows. This album just needs to be played live.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on the previous discography, obviously, but this record sounds like a live record. It honestly sounds like you guys recorded everything on one take in a live setting, and then you just made that the record. And I love that because nobody makes records that sound like that anymore.
we done a lot of takes. I'm gonna say there we did a lot of takes, but we did have a conscientious effort for it to sound organic, like four guys in a room. I left we left mistakes in there on purpose. I left Matt hi hat chicken, you know what I mean, in the corner of your ear on purpose to make it feel like we're together. So yeah, I would love to learn more of this stuff and play it live. The last album, Cicada Tree, to me feels like more of a studio album, more of a
Mhm.
rock album. And then when you get into our first two albums, they feel like live albums. So we'll probably do a lot of legacy tunes and then try to focus on mostly this album with a spattering of songs in between. You know.
I think that's a good mix because I think that will create a nice blend live. Speaking of mistakes, I've seen some of the comments about your vocals, being AI generated or whatever it was that people were saying.
Mhm.
The vocals on this record are perhaps the best that I've ever heard of any Byzantine album. Let me just start off
Wow.
by saying that.
Thank you.
And my follow-up question to that is when I was listening to it, I was like, is that all you? Because it blew me away. The vocals are insane,
Yeah.
insane.
No, not all me. As most people who follow the band well know, as soon as Brian got in this band, I've always been a fan of Brian's voice. We have different styles, we have different vibratos, and me and Brian have always figured out ways for us to sing together or him to take lead, and it's a dance. This time we were able to add Ryan because Ryan is a great singer. So now we have three vocalists, and we found spots to where all of us did the leads on choruses. So no, there's Brian's all over this album. Ryan's on this album, so it's fun. I do most. Brian, I think I do all the heavy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then yeah,
I think that
and
you can always tell a little bit when it's Brian because he has a little bit of a country twang to his
mm-hmm.
delivery, which adds like almost like a doomy vibe to the
Yeah,
Oh.
songs, which I fucking love. He brings the mood down a little bit. You know what I mean? He
yeah.
has such a great voice. I just thought the album vocally was flawless, flawless. Vocally, it's the
Wow.
best record you guys have ever done because you were able to convey the emotion in the lyrics and in the songs through your voice. And I think for me as a listener, that's what I connect with. I connect with the emotion. I connect with something that resonates with me on a more personal level. It's not just
Yeah.
about words, it's about how you emphasize those words. And I thought you guys on this album did that extremely well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I listened to the whole thing a couple of days ago, front to back. Just and one thing I think this record has that maybe the last couple haven't had is there is a lot of emotional weight to these songs. Like some of it makes you kind of tear up a little bit. It sounds very I don't want to say sad, but I don't know. There's a lot of ourselves pouring out into this, and I can
Mm-hmm.
hear it. And there is a lot of emotional weight to the lyrics and the melodies, and it's very effective in that. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I totally agree.
you guys were able to create this Jekyll and Hyde dynamic that I think it's really important for the album because Brian, you bring a little bit more of a somber, clear thought process of how you feel in that moment with the lyrics, and then when OJ comes in, it's almost like ah fuck that shit, like I'm just fucking mad at bullshit. And that kind of dynamic works really well because we've all been there. We've all looked at ourselves in the mirror and felt pity for ourselves, and then we snap out of it, and we're like, "What the fuck? Like, let me snap out of it." So the album
Mhm.
has a lot of that snapping out of it vocally, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We
Awesome.
we kind of I was kind of nervous about what we were going to open the album with. We had talked back and forth about how are we going to do it. We going to come out 8 years removed, kick the fucking door down with a banger, through all the polyrhythmic stuff. And then Brian was like, "Hey, I wrote something a little somber." And he said, check this out. And he played Consequentia, the first part, and we were all like, "Oh my god, that's the album opener." We gotta start it out in first gear, and then we ramp it up to a fever pitch in the middle, and then bring it back down to track 9, Irene. So it's a sine wave. That way, it feels like a nice ride.
There's a few times on this record that I'm like, if people are listening to the album and they don't know you guys, I'm sure they can tell you guys are big Gojira fans and big Devin Townsend fans because
Hmm.
there's a lot of moments on this record that I was like, wow, the Gojira of West Virginia has arrived. You
I,
know, like
I,
I got that vibe.
well, I've always thought we were the Anvil of West Virginia, so I would rather be the Gojira of West Virginia. No,
Yeah, that
I think us and Gojira, we're roughly the same age, and we've been doing this about the same amount of time. I think we pull from the same cosmic, pool of riffs, which is nice.
yeah.
Yeah, because you guys are able to do something on this album that I really appreciated, which is when you go a little bit more technical and proggy with the sound, you don't make me feel stupid. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I'm not a prog guy at all because most of the time I feel like I'm not educated enough to understand what the fuck is going on in the songs.
Mm.
I feel like it's a different language to me all the time. And when you guys go in that route, you never go so far off the deep end that you completely lose me as a listener. You're able to make it engaging and interesting in the overall development of the song, which I really like.
That's great.
Yeah, you can go off the rails with that stuff, especially in a metal band.
Mhm.
You want the listener, you want to be able to headbang to find the groove and stick with it. If you lose that, man, you lose the listener a little bit. So there's a fine line you kind of got to walk with those riffs. Like the riffs I tend to write are simplistic, and like I lean towards more the Mastodon kind of stuff than the
Mhm.
Meshuggah stuff. The soundscapey stuff is what I dig, and that's kind of how I write. And I like my brain is wired differently than OJ's. And OJ's a math technical guy. I'm like the English, reading kind of guy. So I think those kind of mesh well together.
Yeah, in the day and age now where technical ability is like it is so off the charts, we knew that we can't keep up with the 90% of those tech bands, so we just try to keep it technical enough to keep it engaging. But yeah, having Brian writing kind of helps tamp down that and keep it from flying off the rails, which allows a lot of listeners to enjoy it more.
One last question for you guys. I know LL Cool J once said to not call it a comeback, and I don't want to call this album a comeback because you guys didn't go anywhere. You've been around forever.
Right.
But does this album, based on the incredible, once again, the incredible feedback you guys are receiving, does it feel a little bit of a rebirth?
Brian?
I think so. I think so. Having Ryan in the band,
Mm-hmm.
something we haven't talked about, having Tony, the original guitar player, back in the band.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're a five piece, and when we're playing live, OJ's primarily going to be on the mic and doing some filling. It's going to be totally different from what the band's been like the last 20 years or so. Um, yeah, I mean, this album, it totally feels like a whole new like jumping point for us. So yes, I do believe it is.
Yeah. And it's real apropos that we named it Harbinger, which is ushering in a lot of change because we have changed a lot since 8 years ago. Like he said, now we have Tony Rohrbaugh back in the band and Ryan in there writing. We feel really, really strong as a unit. Everybody gets along. We're excited to hang out and play these songs together. So yeah, it might be a comeback, but it might be the actual us showing up on the scene for the first time, as a true band.
Wow, exciting
So
times, I must say, exciting times.
yeah.
Guys, thank you once again very much for taking the time. It's a pleasure to see your lovely faces. We don't do this enough because you guys take 8 years to release a record. So, what can I
Yeah.
say? It takes a
I
little
know.
bit of time, but we're here. I wish you nothing but the best with this album release. I'm going to put a link in the description of this interview for people to go pre-order the album. I'm going to have my review out a week before the album drops. I can tell you it's already my top 5 albums for the month of June, and it's going to be in my top 10 albums of the year. I can
Wow.
already say that because it's that good of a fucking record. I'm honestly telling everybody to go check you guys out and pick up this record. You deserve it. The album deserves it. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Pedro.
Pedro.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Yep.